Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerdy Affair, where we take our lonely bachelor, Dungeons and Dragons, and set it on a blind date with our pop culture media. I'm Cody.
And I'm Joe. And as I predicted last time, Dungeons and Dragons is back.
Again, I know
I
it's
know.
like he can never catch a break, huh?
This would actually kind of be an interesting premise for a real life dating show, right? Like
Just like the
undateable, and it's just
worst,
like
just the worst human being, and you're just trying to hook them up every time, and the show just ends when he's finally like, "I found true love." I don't know why he had that accent, but that was
and
the
then he
one that.
didn't.
Mhm.
So anyway, hey Cody, have you been, my man?
I've
Anything
been
fun going on
well.
over in Codyville?
I actually this will date the episode, I think, a little bit,
You're
but
gonna
when
date the
doesn't,
episode.
right?
Ha ha
I
ha ha.
watched the first episode of Lovecraft Country.
Ooh, how is that?
It is surprisingly good. Um,
Okay.
I was a little nervous that with the Lovecraft theme,
Uh-huh.
that there was a pretty good chance that they were going to gloss over the fact that Lovecraft was like a shitty racist human being, even though he created some of like the scariest things that we've ever, created a
Sure.
whole genre of scary books. But like,
Yeah.
I was a little nervous that when you use that theme, people tend to try to like gloss over the fact that he was a super racist. But I will be happy to inform you that the the Lovecraft Country does not gloss over that fact.
It's like the core
And
premise, right?
yeah, basically it is, without going too far into the synopsis of the show, it follows a war veteran named Atticus Freeman who comes back from serving in the military to basically look for his missing father. And basically the overall tone of that first episode is basically dealing with 1950s racism and how shitty and awful that was, to a huge degree. Like, I would argue that the quote unquote Lovecraftian elements that show up, that kind of otherworldly eldritch stuff, doesn't really start showing up until the end of the first episode. It's mostly dealing with how awful white people were in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it's super good. It had me hooked, even though like the parts that I was like kind of interested to see happen were kind of like lighter in this first episode. But it seems like, from what I've seen in the kind of on the next episode little teaser at the end, like, I'm like, all right, things are gonna get like super weird, and I'm really like,
Sure.
I'm excited to watch it. I would recommend it, at least from the first episode alone. I think it's coming out like a standard TV show, so
Mm-hmm.
like it's, one episode per week. But first episode had me impressed. What about you? What nerdy stuff have you been up to?
I finished season 2 of the Umbrella Academy. Um
Oh, did you like it?
I liked it. Yeah, it was good.
Oh,
It
I
was
I think, hot take, I think it's better than the first season.
yeah, I think I would agree with that. I there were a lot of really fun things about it and a lot of like not so fun things about it, but once again, it's kind of confronting America's less than stellar past.
Yeah.
Um in a lot of ways. It's interesting. I think I might have said this even on the podcast before, but I've certainly said it to some of our mutual friends. That like it's interesting. I remember seeing the trailer for the first season and like rolling my eyes about as far as they could roll
Yeah,
because
well, because it was basically, have you seen gritty superhero movies where like the idea is Watchmen, like they're actually corrupt and shitty, and it was like,
yeah.
it's such an like, at this point, with it also kind of funny that like a show called The Boys was also a similar topic. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it feels that whole idea feels kind of rote now. Like, oh man, people with superpowers who aren't inherently good are gonna be shitty human beings to be with. Like,
Yeah, I mean, and even to like another level, like hell, man, like the things that they're parodying are exploring this now, right?
right,
Like X-Men for years has kind of been exploring like, man, it's a little fucked up that Professor X like had an army of like warrior children, huh? Like
yeah,
and
a little bit.
this is X-Men, right? Like this is the mainstream comic like are already doing it. But I think the thing that made this season a lot of fun is just kind of like watching these characters so thoroughly out of their element. Um
Yeah,
and it also kind of highlights a lot of what A makes the characters special and B like really kind of heightens like their the ways in which they're broken, right? Where it's
right,
like
right,
Luther like literally can't build a new life. He's the one who has like had the hardest time building a new life. Whereas like Allison kind of like leaned into a new life pretty easily.
right,
Um
right.
you know, things like that. And so Klaus becomes a cult leader. That was fun. Um but yeah,
Not super spoiler. You find that out almost immediately.
yeah, he found that like the first episode. But yeah, I think I would highly recommend it. Um I I mean, I think the answer is kind of like yeah, but I'm curious, would you be interested in a season 3 of Umbrella Academy?
I was actually going to ask you how you felt about that cliffhanger, though. So yeah, without spoilers, I am super excited.
Uh-huh.
Without spoilers, I want a season 3. If there's not a season 3, I'm going to be a real sad boy.
Uh-huh. I would
What about
I,
you?
I would agree with that. You know, up until that moment I was like, man, good job guys. Did 2 really solid seasons. We built a lot of fun along the way, but now yeah, I'm curious to see where they go from here. But anyway,
Yeah, this will be
um
a very interesting uh, a season because this has the chance to go real like get real like trite and boring and like
mhm.
not do anything different because of the elements that were presented at the end, but also it could be really cool. So,
Yeah.
we'll see.
But hey, Cody, who's that off in the distance?
That group of
Ruffians?
ruffians that seem to go from town to town looking for work.
Dance competition? Anyway,
Yes, and a dance competition.
it's you and a group of adventurers.
Yeah. So last week, I gave Joe a beautiful prompt,
Uh,
and I will share it again.
so good,
You,
so beautiful. A lot of people are saying that's the best prompt. So,
wow, that's quite high praise. But anyways, you and a group of adventurers must accompany a war comrade through a decadent love triangle with murder in the air. The
okay.
theme, or the medium
The
rather,
genre, the medium, yeah, medium.
genre is book.
Huh. I, I have to admit, Cody, I don't know.
The answer is The Great Gatsby.
Oh yeah, I
Did you
suppose
know that Gatsby was a war comrade?
he
I totally
was.
forgot that.
He was. You know, it's funny. I hate
It's
that
such a
book.
small yeah, I mean, hey, it's one of those books that's like, hey, look how fucked up everything is, huh?
Well, so I think my big thing about it is just it's like, and I understand like it was when it was written and all that shit, but like, my God, man, we get it. The dude was rich enough to have oranges. Get the fuck off it, please. Like, God, like that's for gonna be forever just burned into my mind. I also didn't like Ernest Hemingway either. Um, not fond of the sad post World War One
Sure.
malaise. So
Yeah. But yes, that was my you in a group of adventures. But now that we've pushed them off to
yeah,
the side, and
it's like one
I
of
guess
those
they got
old
into another
classic
fight and are
books.
running from town. There's another group that's just over yonder that I see.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
It's
hit me.
you and a group of adventurers look for your ancestors' legacy, but not but you and a group of adventurers look for your ancestors' legacy, but all is not as it seems when you uncover an ancient secret.
Huh. What's the
This
genre?
the medium is video game.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
I'm going to read it again.
Yeah, please do.
You and a group of adventurers look for your ancestors' legacy, but all is not as it seems when you uncover an ancient secret. If you have an answer for us, um, tweet at us at fandomr_podcast using the hashtag fandomradventures.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll have to think about that because I think there might be several
multiple
games that fit
answers.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I mean, well, at
whatever.
least that I can kind of think of.
Uh
I'm
huh.
kind of trying to parse which ones actually fit better because
Sure.
there was a reason you chose those words.
Yeah,
Um,
there
but
is. You're
anyways,
right.
I will. Yeah. So now that our commercial break game is over, let's get back to
It's my favorite kind of game show where there's another game show in the commercial breaks.
yeah.
Uh,
Like instead of commercials, it's a I actually would love to do like if we ever need to take a break from like the cycling stuff to just do like a series of these where like we just like will bring someone on and just go ham on 10 or 15 of these or whatever. Something wild. But anyways, now that we're back from commercial break, we're introducing our new Bachelorette here to go on a blind date with Dungeons and Dragons, and she likes.
she likes waiting for a train that you don't think will come.
Ooh.
That's like a totemic line in this flick.
And is interested in high level scientific calculations and really likes to get into the deeper parts of your psyche, if you will.
And also really likes the flight from Australia to LAX
Huh. I forgot that was the flight.
because it's the
Uh
longest flight in the world, I believe.
yeah, we're talking about Inception, everyone.
Whoa.
I like it. It's a good imitation. I'll do some post editing to make it really feel like the horn or whatever.
But yeah, hey Cody, what are your kind of like overall thoughts on Inception as a thing?
So, hot take.
Uh huh.
I enjoyed the shit out of this movie when it came out.
Mhm.
And when you posted or when you said, "Hey, we should do Inception," I was like, "Fuck yeah, that sounds great." Then I did research, which meant having to, watch that movie again. And boy, um I had very different tastes when this movie came out, I
Mhm.
guess.
Mhm.
This is a visually exciting movie. It's an exciting movie. There's a lot going on, but it is so fucking convoluted and the all the dream rules are they feel like slapstick just like tape that all together to create drama. And I'm not gonna lie, by the time I finished that movie, I was kind of like, man, I don't care about the end credits or the end scene where the fucking top is still spinning and we don't know. Like I remember as a kid being like, "Oh my god, are you just gonna leave it at that?" But now I was like, "Ugh, God, I don't care, Leo. Stop."
I think that might be one of my favorite movie going experiences
Yeah,
was
no, it
seeing
was
that in the
super.
theater. I was in a
Yeah,
packed house, that music swelling. Everyone's it's like it's super cool, and then you got that last shot, and I just
yeah, oh yeah.
remember the entire audience collectively was just like, "Oh,
But man, isn't it like fucking convoluted? I remember just being like, all right, well, let me look up a synopsis of the movie. And I couldn't just look up a synopsis because it's so fucking wild. that I just had to watch the movie. Like I was like, no,
Hmm.
I have to at this point because I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's like
Yeah,
weird dream shit and all. But anyways,
yeah. No,
that's my hot take.
I know where you're coming from. I remember.
It's a
Uh,
fun movie. I would definitely like if you haven't seen Inception and it's like on a plane or it happens to be on TV one day and you're just like I got nothing else to do. Like definitely watch it. It's fun.
I mean, I'm fairly certain it's on Netflix right now. If
Yeah, I
you
think that's
have that
where I
particular
yeah, I think that's where I watched it. I can't
streaming
remember
service.
exactly. But
I
anyways,
remember thinking it was like one of the smartest films ever made. I was like, whoa. Um,
I'm
because
sorry.
it was 2010. I was like 20 years old,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and
Yeah, likewise. I think it was like 2021.
and like like man, it's so cool that like Christopher Nolan gets to make the movies he wants to make instead of like having to just pump out Batmans all the time. And like if you know me now, you know that my tastes have like completely changed from there where I'm just like, no, make it big and weird and fun. Um I
Well,
still
I'll
think
tell you this.
yeah, go ahead.
Inception's fucking weird.
I mean, I guess fun maybe is more I'm looking for. Because
Right.
like
You want something more fun. You like, you know.
I think like one of the things that like just kind of like bums me out about it is just the fact that it's like it's very Christopher Nolan, man. Like it
Yeah,
is.
if you would have put Batman in there, you would have been like, "Yep, that's a Christopher Nolan movie for sure."
It's like everything is like very like muted color palettes and like we're playing with dreams and dream spaces and it's like a hotel, the city of Paris. Like
A fucking winter like getaway home. Like it's so yeah, like of all the things you could have put in here to be like here's the cool things you can do with dreams and it's just like you picked a city. Are you fucking for real? You didn't
yeah.
do like some fucking like reverse Egypt where like you're like this just there's sand falling from the sky for no reason whatsoever and
Mhm.
there's like cool shit flying around. Like, are you kidding me? There's so many things you could have done. Like,
Well, and
even
then
the ice place was blasé. Like, oh, it's a fucking compound in the winter. Like, you could have done like Grand Canyon but in a snow setting, and that would have been infinitely like more interesting than like, oh, here's a compound. Like, come on, am I playing GoldenEye 007? Like, what is
yeah.
this?
And like, part of me thinks it's like, part of me like understands why he did it cuz he's like trying really hard to play with like the realism of everything and
Yeah, he
maybe it's
wants
just
you to be confused.
yeah, maybe the suggestion is just that like rich people just are boring. Um you never
Yeah,
know. That
maybe that is the commentary, and I like how we spent the first five five to 8 minutes just shitting on Inception with while we're gonna do an episode on how to do it
well,
at your table.
no, because I think it's interesting because like, I think there's a lot of fun elements and I think that
Oh, absolutely.
one of the things that I kind of wanted to like think about when I was thinking about this was kind of building a more interesting dream space and
Yeah.
dreamscape. And so like yeah, one of the things I thought about was what you were saying where it's like having weird things where it's like um you know one of my favorite shots in the movie is like when the fruit stands start exploding, but like Nolan makes it pretty clear early on that like as soon as shit starts to go pear-shaped in a dream, like that's it. It's over, right?
Right.
And so basically the thing that and I think there's another aspect of it too, which is that it does help to sell the stakes of the movie because I think of another movie that also features Dreamscape's Sucker Punch, where it's like she is punched through like 7 concrete walls and then stands back up and starts fighting again.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, okay, then I guess no one can die anymore. That's boring. All of this action is rendered useless. Whereas like a dude getting shot in Inception, it's like that's pretty devastating, Like you have to, going deeper will extend your time a little bit, but there's only so far you can go before you have to like pull them out. So what I have determined is um, that the DM is going to throw your way various things that you are going to that the party has to convince the mark is perfectly normal. Um, and doing this in a couple ways. So the first thing is establish pretty early on that you can do extraordinary things in the dream space. I'm talking like Matrix style bullet times, like maybe magical things, crazy feats of strength, jumping higher, farther, faster, things like that. But every time you use something like this, so it's like, an easy way out, but every time you use it, it creates a higher and higher skill check before the dream activity starts to swarm you or fight back or start collapsing. Right?
Okay,
So,
so like it's kind of like the Matrix thing where like if you believe in it, you can do it. However, in this case, the dream is like, "Whoa, who the fuck is that over there? Neo's not supposed to be here," and just
yeah.
start like trying to chase you down. All right, I like
And so,
that. Yeah, there's
and
like kind of
so
a alarm system.
I was
I like
thinking
it.
about it in terms of House on the Hill rules,
Okay.
betrayal rules, where you know how it's like every time you encounter an omen card, that threshold starts increasingly getting higher. Because I do think at some point you need to have the dream collapsing to create a really exciting getting out of there set piece.
Yeah.
And then the secondary thing is to like really start playing around with the geography of things. So I don't necessarily suggest that like you wake up and it's like the fantasy kingdom of Flizzleblopple, because like that is kind of going against kind of like what Nolan was going for. But you know, if you're driving through the streets of New York and then suddenly there's like an upside down Eiffel Tower on fire in the middle of Central Park, like, the mark's going to start getting concerned and confused, and then you have to start really working on convincing them that, no, everything's fine. Actually, everything's fine. So yeah, that's my big thing is creating extraordinary feats of strength and extraordinary things to do, but creating increasingly more difficult ways to try and convince your mark that no, everything's fine, to stop drawing attention to the fact that you not only are in a dream, but you're trying to steal and or plant an idea in their brain.
Right. And so my addition to this is the idea of working within the layers of the dream. So in the movie, they go through several layers of the dream to incept an idea. It needs to go real deep into your subconscious so that it feels like it's your own. And from a game perspective, if one or two people have to stay in the top layer and the rest of the game is spent on watching the actions of the other players getting deeper, the first two players are going to find themselves bored and waiting for the next thing to happen. Because in the movie, people have to stay back in order to be able to like do these simultaneous wake up mechanic. There's a couple ways to do this. You could, in theory, change the mechanics so that they just all work together or they're all in the same spot. But I think this is also a unique opportunity to, instead of forcing a party to just always be together and never have like a point of tension where things split, I think this is actually a perfect time to do that. I think a big part of the drama is this constant threat that, as the party is doing stuff in the first layer and they go to the second layer, the people who have to stay behind have to protect and make sure that everything is okay. And the more the dreamer, if you will, is aware that something is wrong, that creates certain dramatic moments like the van chase and whatnot from the movie. um,
Mm-hmm.
I think what I think a good way to handle this is to just to constantly be aware of the spotlight and constantly shifting from the various people in the game. So constantly being like, all right, person 1 and 2, you had to stay back because person 3 and 4 need to go deeper, right?
Yeah.
Um, so from there, it's like, and maybe this is person 1 and 2 hold out in an old abandoned house that the architect created while the rest of the party has to like go deeper. Suddenly all of a sudden people are trying to break into this house. They have plenty of supplies and traps to set up, but they're limited, and eventually they need to go. Now you've created a scenario where person 1 and 2 have to constantly like protect this home from the various people trying to break in, while the other people are going in to do other stuff. Maybe they're breaking into a bank vault during an evening to steal from it or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so being able to switch from those scenes and creating things that are happening simultaneously is, we'll call it a little bit complicated, but it's not nearly as difficult as long as you are maintaining the idea of switching the spotlight from people as the other players, maybe they start to look bored, or maybe it's been, 10, 15 minutes or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever your players are comfortable with. This is a unique opportunity to do that. And then finally, the last part of this, leaving the dream in question requires a kick from Inception, which is the idea that you need to like fall off a chair or use explosives to knock people, mess with their equilibrium. I wouldn't make this too complicated mechanically because the party is already doing probably quite a lot to incept this idea. But I think the party probably needs to like come up with like a verbal plan of like how to pull people out simultaneously. Um, I think in when you're working in this way, the timing of all this should just work. I don't, due to the complex nature of what you're trying to do, creating a new mechanic would be not only frustrating for the GM who's trying to set this all up, but then frustrating for the players when that doesn't happen and then all of a sudden someone's just in a coma forever because, a bad die roll or whatever.
Sure. So yeah,
But
and I think going along with that, wow, man, these are really building on each other in a nice way, I think. Um,
uh-huh.
so I think the thing to help create an interesting or rather like not a way that individuals will feel left out of the heist is one of the things I think Inception does incredibly well is creating a really strong cast or a really strong heist team, you know. Um
Yeah.
Everyone in that movie has a strong role. They all have their own objectives. They all have their own secondary missions, and they all have their own specialty skill set. So because of this, um, creating the roles of the heist are incredibly important, including giving them various maybe tweaked feats.
Sure.
So something like the chemist can create strong sleeping agents, but they might also have access to crafting things like smoke screens or hallucinogenics, or other kind of like gadget smithy things, to help with subterfuge or to keep them hidden while they get deeper into the dream. The actor might be able to like transform themselves into other various characters. The architect is able to do things like split the lines between, like create shortcuts and things like that because they're aware of how the various layouts are built. Um, and then on top of that, to give them all their kind of own mission objectives to make sure that everything happens the way the plan is supposed to go. But it's not going to go the way the plan is supposed to go.
What?
So I think the other thing that's fun about Inception is that they throw to these various characters things that they aren't necessarily good at. So, for instance, the chemist has to drive the around in a high speed truck chase. That guy's not a high speed truck guy. You
What?
know,
I disagree. He seemed
Jos-
he seemed like he was a NASCAR driver to me.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, while skilled in combat, I believe his name is Arthur in that movie. While he's like skilled in combat, um, you know, he's not necessarily the brute or the fighter, yet he's the one who gets into the big, epic spinning hallway fist fight. So having clear roles for everyone helps to give everyone kind of a sense of purpose to make sure that even though you're being left on level one, you're not necessarily unimportant to the team. And then by throwing other weird things their way, then that kind of ramps up the tension when everything starts going wrong and pear shaped in that dreamscape. So
Yeah. And speaking of handling how you prep and deal with the heist, I running games in the past and having heists in them poses a very interesting and unique problem, especially in D&D when there's no mechanics for it, which is how do you handle preparing for a heist without actually planning for a heist? Because
Mm.
here's the problem with that. Now, some people might be like, "Oh, that's fucking rad. I want to plan a heist." But I don't think people realize that like that could take anywhere from like 3 to 4 hours in game to be like, "All right, we're going to do this and this and this and we're going to do all these things and blah blah blah." So, how do you make the players feel like they've prepared for a heist without planning for a heist? Blades in the Dark has a great mechanic behind this that we're going to basically rip for this. Instead of spending hours and hours with your players to try to plan a legitimate heist, you can do this on the fly via a flashback mechanic. I don't remember the Blades in the Dark mechanic. I think it's something,
Um,
I don't
like,
remember the proper name of it. But
yeah.
basically, you give the party one or two flashback tokens, if you will, based on the level of preparation or time that they would have to plan for this heist, right?
Mhm.
You basically just have them go into the heist like you would a normal dungeon or encounter, but they can use the flashback tokens to basically acquire items, a piece of information, or even a new path for the moment when something kind of stands in their way.
Mhm.
The idea is that this just kind of rewinds the clock and kind of gives us a moment to be like, all right, well, the players would have planned for the fact that this back entrance has guards, right? Maybe they paid them off or, what have you. And in the kind of inception-y kind of world, instead of like, you didn't necessarily, pay the guards in the back, but you have an architect. Maybe they developed a way to break into this place already. Like that's already there.
Mhm.
Maybe it is that you like this individual, this person who's guarding the back door actually knows the target, and you knew that, and so you're I forget what they call them. The Is it the actor the one that can change their physical appearance?
I mean, I've always thought of them as the actor. I think that's what the title is in the movie.
Yeah. So like
Um,
maybe the actor learned about this particular individual and studied them so that they can, so that they would know what the best answer is to get past them, right? These are what these flashback tokens are for. For a short romp into the Dreamiverse, I'd probably do like one or two of these tokens, but maybe for these longer Inception style, like, there's multiple layers and stuff like that, like having more of these prepared
yeah.
um, and giving them more based on how much information or how much time they spent to prep for this. Like if they had a month to, or a month or more to prep for this thing, like they'll probably have a lot of these tokens to kind of squeak themselves through certain areas. I mean, of course, things are going to go pear shaped at some point, but it's nice to be able to feel like, oh yeah, we definitely planned for this moment. We have, there's a secret entrance that the dreamer didn't see, and so they just sneak in through the secret entrance or whatever.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And then my last bit, unless you have another bit.
Nope, those were my two big things. So
So much like the dramatic ending of Inception, I'm going to talk about totems.
nice.
So in Inception, the dreamscape becomes very difficult to distinguish from the real world, and to combat this problem, these quote unquote dream heisters have totems that have interesting quirks that only that person knows. So they can use that thing in the dream, and if they're in the dream, it doesn't act the way it's supposed to because nobody would know except for that person, right?
Hmm.
Um, while you're probably not going to use this all the time, I think it should be noted that when a heist does go sideways, with dreams collapsing, it could be useful to use. And I think in order to do this effectively, I think each player needs to create their own unique totem, but only tell the
Mhm.
GM what the uniqueness to it is. And that at varying moments, they can be like, "Oh, I want to use my totem," and then the GM can describe how it's reacting depending on whether or not they're in the dream or not. While it really just kind of, I mean, while it's not super impactful in your game because it really is just serving as a tool to know if things are real or not, there are a lot of neat things you can start doing with this. This is great when you're starting in media res, which is, starting within the action of this, where they're already in the thick of maybe an action sequence and don't know if it's a dream or not. I know the first part of Inception, they're in a dream already,
Mhm.
so like that's an interesting mechanic to do, but there's a lot of cool things you can do, and having a go-to like totem item to be like, "Wait, have we been in a dream this whole time?" And then they get to use the totem and find out. It's a neat way to potentially mind fuck your players, if you will, about what's going on.
Yeah,
And it's
I think
very
that's
cool.
really cool. I,
Yeah,
I I like that. I like that idea a lot. Even if it's not necessarily, crucial to the story. I like the idea that only the player knows if it's a dream or not, and so you can kind of, you know, gently mess with them. So
exactly. And that's the thing about Inception, like that general vibe, and this will be my last bit, I promise,
hmm
is like the whole movie is kind of this mind fuck. You're never really quite sure exactly what's going on, and I think that's done on purpose. And
yeah,
like even though there are these cool visual moments, like they like in Doctor Strange, where like buildings are kind of folding in on themselves and stuff like that, like there are some really dramatic moments where it's like, wait, are we actually in the dream or not? So having this totem can be used as a very like a unique tool. And it's, I think the vibe here is that like it should kind of be a little questionable whether or not the players are in a dream or what part of the dream they're in.
Mhm.
Like maybe they quote unquote kick back, but the person at the top layer didn't do it right, and so they're actually just all stuck in the same top level dream, and it's changed, right?
Uh-huh.
And then maybe they're like, wait a minute, things are weird, and then that's when we got to find a way to get ourselves out of here and stuff like that.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah. Um, anything else, or
Nah, that's it,
I
man. That's
think it's a
Inception,
I
baby.
think it's about time for this date to begin. Then they're
Yeah,
taking
I think they're gonna start at like a really nice coffee shop,
and then it's
and
gonna
then
become like a really nice um I don't know like
they're gonna go to a fruit stand, and then the fruit stand's gonna explode.
hmm
Um, they're gonna start like, they're gonna really get into the dream stuff.
but yeah. Enjoy, guys. See you next time, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Um, hey Cody, if people like this episode and they want to hear more, where's the place that they want to learn more? Where's the place that they can learn more?
They can go to our website at www.fandomroulette.com, where you can see all of our shows go live as they go live. And we rotate between 4 shows. So, if you're looking for the next nerdy affair, why don't you check out some of our other shows that we're doing? It'll all be there. And if you scroll down to the very bottom, there's a little area where you can fill out your internet handle and then what topics you would like us to cover on the nerdy affair. What pop culture media theme would you like Dungeons and Dragons to go on a date with? It could be your next input.
Yeah.
That was a
Um.
sentence.
Also, Cody, if people want to listen to the episode, but they don't necessarily um go to the same podcatcher as someone else, where are some places that people can direct to find more episodes of Phantom Roulette?
We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Google Play, SoundCloud, iTunes, you name it. All you got to do is search Fandom Roulette.
And then hey, if people want to like reach out to us, but they don't necessarily want to go to our website, they want to send us a meme or send us some feedback or things like that. what are some social media area? What are some areas that they can find us on the social medias?
They can hit us up at Twitter at fandomr_podcast. Make sure if you want to take a guess at what this week's You in a Group of Adventures are, to hit us up there with the hashtag FandomRAdventures. But if you're just looking to see what we're up to, just posted a image of my new family member, our new dog Odin. He's a cutie. But yeah, we like to post just stuff that we're doing. But you can find that on Facebook and Instagram by searching Fandom Roulette.
Also, please remember to like, rate, review, subscribe, hit
Yeah,
the bell,
smash it.
leave us a nice comment, tell a friend, help us to move up those ranks because any little bit helps. And we love sharing this stuff with you, and we hope to share it with more people in the future. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, and we want to thank you so much for listening. We know you can spend your time places, and we want lots of places, and we want to thank you for spending it with us. But
Yeah.
signing off for Phantom Roulette, this is Joe,
And I'm Cody.
and as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.